I think about going back 1877, what my great-great-grandfather had to endure in order to obtain those acres. And so it's incumbent upon me to transfer that knowledge to her, and she shared with her children and her grandchildren. So we have 8 generations. I am the 5th, she is the 6th, her children the 7th, and now her grandchild is the 8th generation.
Welcome to the Roots to Resilience podcast, a series highlighting the powerful stories and transformative efforts defining the past, present, and future of African American land ownership. I'm Bethany Wilkinson, your host and executive director of the Sustainable Forestry and African American Land Retention Network. At the SFLR Network, we are committed to empowering African American landowners through education, advocacy, and sustainable forestry practices that protect generational land, foster economic resilience, and honor the rich cultural heritage tied to the land. This series will take you on a journey through 8 sites across our network, uncovering the stories, challenges, and triumphs that define our mission. Today, we are diving into the work of the Winston County Self-Help Cooperative, an organization committed to empowering rural communities in Mississippi. We're joined by 2 incredible guests, Frank Taylor, affectionately known as the voice of rural America and a longtime leader at Winston County Self-Help Cooperative, along with Tiari Todman, Mr. Taylor's daughter, and a dedicated land steward continuing her family's multi-generational legacy. Together, they share their personal journeys, the mission of the cooperative, and the impact of their work in preserving Black-owned land for future generations. Hi, Mr. Taylor.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm better than good.
Oh, good. All right. Hi, Miss T.
Hi, Bethany.
So would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Tiari. T is what everyone calls me, Todman, and I am with the Winston County Self-Help Cooperative. My role is pretty much some of everything. I just keep everybody together. That's my role.
Yeah, it's a very important one. Mr. Taylor, would you please introduce yourself?
My name is Frank Taylor. I am with the Winston County Self-Help Cooperative, and we're based here in Louisville, Mississippi. This organization was founded in 1985, and I've been a part of the organization since 1989. And my responsibility is to be the team leader of the organization.
Great. And can you share your personal journey to working with the Winston County Self-Help Cooperative?
After graduating from Kentucky State University, I migrated back to Mississippi, and I was working in several different professions. And unfortunately, I had a motor vehicle accident, and I came back to Louisville, Mississippi, my home, to rehab. And while I was rehabbing here in Louisville, my aunt asked me would I come become a member of the organization because the president was leaving for another job. And I told my aunt, yes, I would come and volunteer for a year. And a year turned into me falling in love with the Winston County Self-Help. So I've been here with the cooperative since 1989 and working on into my 36th year.
How about you, T? Can you share your background?
So my background is pharmacy. I went to Hampton University, and I earned my doctorate in pharmacy many, many moons ago, 20 plus years ago. And 11 years into that journey, I got sick, which required me to have brain surgery. And as a result, my career status changed from being a pharmacist to being a farmer. And so I called Mr. Taylor, Frank Taylor, who is the Winston County Self-Help Cooperative team leader, is also my dad. And I called him and talked to him. And he said, you should come on over and learn about the cooperative and see what we do and see if you like it. And I've been stuck ever since 2015, doing a great job, doing something that is really noteworthy for the community, for the people. We are people champions. And so that's how I switched from being a champion of medicine to being a champion of farmers, ranchers, and landowners.
Mr. Taylor, so how did you get the name Voice of Rural America? And what does having that name mean to you?
I don't know. I was, sort of always hanging around with people, and we would be talking about what we do in our communities. And so one guy said to me, "Man, you loud. You should be the voice of rural America." I said, "Really?" And that sort of stuck with me. But however, what it means to me is to have an opportunity to work with individuals who did not have the capacity to deal with the individuals that worked at USDA. Those individuals that I was working with then came from the quiet generation, and they was taught not to verbalize what they were thinking. My great-grandparents were paying taxes, but they were negated from obtaining services from USDA and others to improve their farm. So I found a niche that I could be an advocate for those people because I wasn't afraid to put a voice to the needs. And so that's one of the factors that I was able to do. So that, and I began to really get engaged with it because my family had land. Then I started gathering more intel what I could do to make our farm more productive.
Wonderful. And Ms. T, you are part of a legacy of land stewards yourself. And so how has your family's legacy influenced your personal commitment to the cooperative's mission?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So 10 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, my great-great-great-great-grandfather, he's my fourth grandfather removed, him and his wife, his name was Jack Miller, they were able to acquire enough money to buy 40 acres of land in 1877. And then 1 year later, they purchased 40 additional acres of land. So they became landowners over 100 years ago. And so that was impressive for us to ensure we are great manager of what our my great grandparents did. And so from that journey, we had those 80 acres. And over time, other family members bought more. And myself and my family, we were able to add to that family legacy in 2021. So it's just been a really good journey to understand the significance of how individuals who were once enslaved was able to say, hey, we understand the significance of land, and we're going to make that commitment to buying more and being able to have that for their family and pass it down. So this is, like I said, over 148 years ago, and we're still holding on. So land ownership for us to maintain it as Black people is significant. We have to remember we owned so many millions of acres in the early 1900s, but unfortunately, there was Jim Crow, there was Black codes, there was just hate and discrimination. And they used to come up with anything and say, we're taking your land today. So to be able to still own land today from 148 years ago is a testament, and it should be something to be proud of. And this is a daily conversation that I have with my kids, and I do have a grandson. So as soon as he gets a little bit older, he'll get that conversation as well.
Yeah, that's so, I want to say beautiful and rich and empowering. And it's just incredible to hear not only what your ancestors did for future generations, but how current generations are being so proactive to keep it and to honor that legacy. It's just really great. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
What is the primary mission of the Winston County Self-Help Cooperative, and how does it impact the community?
Well, our mantra is to help save rural America because rural America is the backbone of America. And so our goal is to help those farmers, those ranchers, those landowners who need the information that enhances their current project or their current skill set. And that does encompass other things. So yes, we help individuals with housing. We help them to understand their credit. We help them to understand how to go and apply for housing at rural development, right? We do nutritional classes. We had a group of about 8 or 9 individuals, and we had a nurse practitioner come in and talk to them and help them to understand what these numbers mean and how to eat better, right? To have a more of a successful, healthy life. We have a youth group, and the youth group is being exposed to ag and forestry. So we talk about finances. We help, like one year we host this is how you serve your family on a budget. These are some healthy options, and this is how much it would cost. And these are some things that you could use as your guide. Oh, we do have a cattle project right now going on, helping cattlemen to understand what to plant so that their cows can be the healthiest. So when they go to when it's time for them to go to market, they get the top dollar for them. Oh yeah, and we also want to make sure we are sustaining legacies, land legacies for individuals. So we work on that on a continual basis, which is why SFLR fills in the gap.
I just want to add to what the TR had stated about the Winston County Self-Help Cooperative. Our commitment is to the holistic approaches to save the entire community. And that's not only from the psychological side of it, but also is to manage jewel of your natural resources and your monies that you have acquired. And so we're not just focused on today and tomorrow, but we're looking into the next generations of individuals who will come along and be a part of this journey. And so the only way we can succeed is that we educate the next generation of people.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. So, Tiari, can you walk us through your day-to-day responsibilities and how they align with the cooperative's goals?
Sure. So our day-to-day responsibilities. So mine's is a little different because, like I said, I do a little bit of everything. But as far as technical assistance, we have outreach meetings, right? And we have forestry field days. So with those individuals, it depends on what their need is. So we're with SFLR, right? And our goal is to help individuals with heirs property. So we'll have individuals who are trying to prevent having heirs property, and we'll walk them through. These are the steps you take to prevent heirs property. This is how you do a succession plan. There might be those who they're not sure what they have on their property. So we'll order a timber cruise so that a forester could come out and say, hey, this is what you have on your property. This is what we think the value is if you were worth to get a contract from a mill. So, we do different things on a daily basis. On Monday, we had a Save Rural America conference that included the youth. And from there, our youth group was here at the building, and they were able to hear from different individuals. So there was NRCS, there was the USDA liaison for the 1890 to talk about the 1890 program where an individual can apply for an 1890 scholarship and major in one of the ag related fields, and they're guaranteed a job post-graduation, right? So we had an individual here talking about that. We had someone from the wildlife forestry telling them what they do. And so we try to have these types of meetings throughout the year so that individuals who are not able to hear this information is exposed, especially our youth. We know that farming is an aging career. So we really need to tap into the youth now while we have an opportunity so that while they're planning for their post-graduation, ag, forestry, land ownership is in their peripheral.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. So many great programs and touch points for your community. Mr. Taylor, can you share a success story where you've been able to support landowners through your work at Winston County Self-Help Cooperative?
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Just through our HPI program, that's our heifer project. And through our heifer project, over the past 20 years, we have been able to allocate out over 700 animals to families to help them start their cattle operation. So to look back today and still see people who we gave animals to continue to generate income from their farm through our heifer program, and that is just amazing. And then we go to what we do with forestry, helping people provide them with boundary survey, and that's very important for people to have that opportunity. And most African Americans, that's a cost that they cannot absorb because the average survey in this area will cost you anywhere up to $4,000 to $5,000, and that's a huge amount of money. So we've been able to help families monthly, thanks to the network, to get those surveys. Matter of fact, today we ordered 2 more surveys for landowners, and hopefully that will be done here by the end of March for those individuals. So it's just a plethora of things that the Winston County Self-Help Cooperative does.
T, are there any other success stories that come to mind for you where a family was able to preserve their land for future generations based on your guidance?
Sure, yeah. So we have our tax campaign, and that's the land tax campaign that we have each year. And our campaign had just launched, and Mr. Taylor was going through the tax list, and he saw his name, and his name popped out because he knew it was a person of color name, but where the land is located, no one of color lives in this area of Louisville, Mississippi. So he was like, I know this is a Black person. I know. So I was able to go Google the gentleman's name, and it connected him to one of his daughter's name. So we got that number. And if you know Mr. Taylor, you know that he's very persistent. He started calling it a number with no success. So he kept calling the number, and the lady said, well, if this person keep calling me this many times, there's something I must need to know. So eventually the gentleman's daughter got on the phone, and her and Mr. Taylor had a conversation, and he let her know about this property that is at risk to being lost at the tax sale due to back taxes. And the lady was like, I really don't know what you're talking about. Like, what land are you talking about? And so what happened was her father had died like maybe 6 years prior. He never told his daughters about the land. His wife was taking care of the taxes, but she died. She died 3 years prior. And that's how their name ended up on the list. And she herself didn't share about the land. So once that conversation was had, this lady was like, oh my goodness, like we have this land. Oh, we have to preserve this, and thankfully she was in a position to come down. She lives in Chicago. She flew down to Texas, Houston, Texas. Her daughter, her son-in-law, and their son drove over from Houston, Texas to Louisville, Mississippi to pay the back taxes. And then to come to find out, the granddaughter who came, she's a horticulturist. So to have, to have access to land that you had no idea that you had was such an amazing story, because here's individuals who could have lost land had we not have a delinquent tax program, right? And so, and had Mr. Taylor not have he has good PI skills. So that was, it really worked out in our favor that, this land was saved.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. I want to know, what do you see as the symbolic significance of land ownership within Black communities?
Oh, wow. Especially in this day and time that we're living in. If you have land, you could feed yourself, you could clothe yourself, and you could make money. So you could really remove that third party if you have land and if you know how to use the land. So those survival skills that our ancestors depended upon is vital for us to learn them, and enhance them. One thing I didn't mention is we do canning. We have canning workshops primarily during the summertime, and that is such a huge skill to have because we just never know when food would stop coming from across seas or from wherever. So being able to feed yourself is critical.
What are the biggest challenges Black landowners face today when it comes to retaining their land, and how have you seen those challenges evolve over the years?
Okay, so we have two frontiers. One is obtaining services, and then the other is heirs property. So what we have done with obtaining services through USDA, we have built these relationships, not only through the Winston County Self-Help Cooperative, but through our network and others that we have helped educate individuals to break down those barriers at USDA and get individuals in the office to develop a conservation plan. And a conservation plan, it tells you what practices you need to be implementing yearly on your farm. And so they help increase the overall value of the farm when an individual know what they need to do. We will always say, I wonder why this other guy on the other side of the street, his farm looked all clean and unique, and my farm looked altogether differently. It didn't have the same value. But those people had an opportunity to get services from USDA back in the 1930s when African-American farmers just started receiving the service on a whole in the 90s. So therefore, there's a deficit in obtaining those services. So that's one frontier. Then the other issue is us as people with heirs property. With the Great Migration, we had individuals who migrated to the northern cities, and they left and they said, I never return. So we got to do some bridge building with those individuals across the United States of America, and for them to understand if we don't maintain the ownership, we will be landless by the 23rd century.
Oh, wow. That's such a helpful breakdown. I've heard people talk about those things, but the way you just said it, the voice of rural America, it was really compelling and easy to understand. What resources or tools does Winston County Self-Help Cooperative provide to help landowners maximize the economic potential of their land?
So we have a plethora of services that we offer landowners, not only from managing the cattle, the crops, forestry, whatever entity that those individuals are involved in, we provide the technical assistance to help them achieve sustainability through their natural resources. So it's a day-to-day grind, and it's for us as an organization to find the services that are needed to help those people to overcome those challenges and to continue to generate income from those natural resources.
Wow. Okay. And then for the boundary surveys, those are important because landowners sometimes don't even know where their property ends and where it begins. Can you say more about what those are?
Well, absolutely. A boundary survey, you get your line and corners. And so you won't be encroaching up on somebody else's land. And that usually, sometimes it happens unwillingly, and sometimes willingly people will encroach on your land, especially if you're an absentee landowner. Then they would take advantage of you. So with the boundary survey, these individuals know where their property line begins and where it ends, and that's so important. And with that, we ask people to do generational walk when we do the survey, is to take 2 and 3 generations with them, because eventually somebody's going to leave, and I don't know who it's going to be. So therefore, if 2 or 3 generations are involved in the walk, they have a general idea of where the boundaries are, because we have the people to place a T-post. That's a metal post, and that T-post is about 5.5 feet tall, and we drive it down about 3 feet. So it'd be very challenging for someone to remove that T-post. And so that's usually end up being a permanent marker for that family member, for the families. And so they can always have generational walk.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of generations, how do you feel knowing your daughter is continuing your legacy at Winston County Self-Help Cooperative?
Well, it's a great feeling to see that she has embraced being a manager of the natural resources. And I think about going back 1877, what my great-great-grandfather had to endure in order to obtain those acres. And so it's incumbent upon me to transfer that knowledge to her, and she shared with her children and her grandchildren. So we have 8 generations. I am the 5th, she is the 6th, her children the 7th, and now her grandchild is the 8th generation. And we hadn't put it together, but we have a collage of all 8 branches of the generations that are a part of this ownership of this farm.
And if you had a message for the next generation of Black farmers, what would it be?
Get engaged with the present generation and learn the history. If you know your history, you'll never get lost. So in order to learn your history, you got to talk with someone. You just can't read it. See, anybody can write it in the books, but I can tell you what my experiences, what they have been, right? You can read it in the book, but you don't get it. But what I can sit there and tell you, and I know what my grandparents and great-grandparents, because I heard what my grandmother told me, what her granddaddy had to endure in order for us to have that farm today. So therefore, I just want the next generation to engage with us, and we're going to share with them some of the victories, but what some of the pitfalls could be if you're not a conscious manager and watcher of your natural resources. I don't know where you may be. I don't know where other people may be, but I know here in Mississippi, they're not making any more land. So if you own it, you need to take care of it because people wants to buy land. I have people call me weekly, want to buy land from me. But we're keeping it and passing it on, hopefully, to the next generations, right? To my great-grandchildren.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. If you know your history, you'll never get lost.
You'll never get lost. You got a compass. It'll give you a guiding path.
Golly, I'm writing that down. That's so good.
Well, again, going back to the you guys' generation, X's and Jims and whoever y'all may be, is I know y'all heard that the baby boomers, we're gonna leave a legacy of like $192 billion. We are the richest generation ever. So therefore, if you are gonna inherit the riches, is that make sure that you understand what you should do with the riches. Now, let me leave you with these gems. I know you all heard this thing. I want a helping hand. Will somebody give me a helping hand? But let me tell you, the best helping hand you will ever get, the 2 at the end of your wrist, is to use those 2 hands that you've been blessed with. Don't look for others. Look to yourself, all right? So therefore, whatever it required of me to achieve that success, I'm willing to sacrifice to get that done. And so that is the same commitment that we have to the Winston County Self-Help Cooperative to work with people. Whether I'm loved or not, we're going to deliver the mail because it's needed.
And then my last question for you is, how has the relationship with SFLR Network benefited Winston County Self-Help Cooperative?
It's been like gold. And what I mean by that is that they have provided the services that we was missing. The link of it was surveying, right? And land cruises. And then the information network, through the network, have provided us with leadership and skills to pass down to the other people that we work with. She talked about the UPA, the Uniform Petition Act. And with that connection with Ebony and other people, we were able to get it passed here in the state of Mississippi in 2020. And so without the connectivity with Ebony and maybe some of the other people, we may have not been successful to advocate and to get it passed. And it did pass on the backbone of people who do like me and others. So therefore, it is very important for us to build those kind of relationships. Do you know what some of the pitfalls are and what to avoid? And so it is a very beneficial limb for the Winston County Self-Help. And hey, it's amazing. It's continued to deliver the mail today. Matter of fact, it's just, I said we ordered 2 surveys today and we paid for 1 today, right? So there was 3, 1 that was complete and 2 that we ordered. And so these people will have access to their property knowing where their boundaries are with their neighbors.
Right. This has been a really great relationship. We really have been able to touch so many lives, so many landowners by helping them because it's usually direct funds that it doesn't go in the hands of the landowner, but it goes in the hands of the vendors. And so because of that, so many individuals have been able to either understand their corners, their four corners on their property, or they've been able to put a bid together and do a clear harvest. And from there, they have been able to reforest their lands because we've been able to walk them through it, right? We have a forester, a consultant forester that's able to really help landowners understand what they have on their property. It helps them to understand that their land can be used to help them sustain, right? So being with SFLR has been really great, working with the other groups as well, and just having that fellowship with other groups that are like the Winston County Self-Help Cooperative. They may operate differently, but we all have that same mindset of getting it done. And so it's just been, really good to know that we're not here by ourselves.
That's all for this episode of Roots to Resilience with the Winston County Self-Help Cooperative. A huge thank you to Frank Taylor and Tiari Todman for sharing their wisdom, experiences, and dedication to this important mission. From navigating land ownership challenges to educating the next wave of farmers and conservationists, their commitment to saving rural America is both urgent and necessary. And to our listeners, remember, if you know your history, you'll never get lost. That's all for this episode. Until next time, thank you for listening to Roots to Resilience. Roots to Resilience is a sustainable forestry and African American land retention network podcast. Our senior producer is Ivana Tucker. Our engineers are Asia Simpson and Jacob Winnick. Our executive producers are Melise Toussaint and Eliza Smith. This podcast was produced in collaboration with Cascade Advisory and Cosmic Standard. For more information about our work at SFLR Network, check us out at sflrnetwork.org and be sure to sign up for our email newsletter. Special thanks to our network sites and to the American Forest Foundation for supporting the podcast. This material is also based upon work supported by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Any opinions, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this publication are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views of the U.S. Department of Agriculture or of our other sponsors. In addition, any reference to specific brands or types of products or services does not constitute or imply an endorsement for those products or services. I'm your host, Bethany Wilkinson, signing out.